Emotions of rage erupted in a Detroit courtroom as the woman heard her mother's killer justify murdering her mother.
We were supposed to be dating. We were still dating until this plumber guy came along. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Now, Latrice Dorsy had just moved into this yellow house with her kids a few months ago after breaking up with her ex-boyfriend, a man who would not leave her alone.
I have nothing to do with the murder. I have nothing to do with the disappearance.
That's correct, Stephen. Physically, they're okay, but as you can imagine, heartbroken and damaged in so many other ways.
He told me last week, he said, if I don't get in touch with your ex-wife, I'm going to come and shoot her in the head.
Latrice was 42 years old. By all accounts, she was the kind of woman who lit up a room. She was a physical therapist, meaning her entire life, her actual profession was built around helping broken people heal. She spent her days helping patients regain their strength, teaching them how to stand back up, and helping them move forward. She was a mother of 3. She had a college-age daughter, a 4-year-old son named Justin, and her youngest, a 4-year-old little girl named Jada. Her kids were her entire universe. She had previously been married to a man named Paul Dorsy, and though their marriage had ended, they had moved on. Eventually, Latrice found herself in a new relationship with a man named Earl Maxwell. Maxwell was in his late 30s, a barber working on the west side of Detroit. To the outside world, maybe he seemed normal, but people who spent time around him, they noticed things. Women in his barber shop later mentioned that his energy just felt off. He was described as heavyset, standing around 5'8", with a distinct tattoo of Latrice's name inked permanently onto his left arm. That tattoo was a warning sign hiding in plain sight. It wasn't just a symbol of love. For a man like Earl Maxwell, it was a brand of ownership. Latrice and Earl dated for 4 years, and like so many relationships of this nature, the cracks began to show. The details of what went on behind closed doors stay with the people who lived it, but what is absolutely certain is that Latrice reached her breaking point. She realized this man was not her future. She decided she was ready to move on. So, she did everything by the book. Latrice ended the relationship. She packed up her 3 children and moved into a brand new home on Avon Avenue. She didn't just break up with him, she erased him. She blocked his phone number. She cut him off on every social media platform. She completely severed the cord. She built a fortress of silence around herself and her children. But for a man who views a woman as a possession, silence isn't a boundary, it's an insult. Earl Maxwell couldn't handle the fact that Latrice was moving on with her life. He couldn't reach her directly, so he found a back door. He picked up the phone and started calling the one person who still had a direct line to her, Latrice's ex-husband, Paul. Think about the psychology of that for a second. An ex-boyfriend tracking down an ex-husband. He had absolutely no business contacting Paul, but he did it anyway. And he didn't just call once. According to Paul Dorsy, Earl Maxwell called him at least 20 times. These weren't calls asking for closure. They were direct, terrifying threats. During that very first phone call, Maxwell's voice was cold and deliberate. He told Paul, "When I see your wife, I'm going to kill her." When Paul answered the second time, Maxwell reiterated the threat. He was going to hurt her. Paul was horrified. He immediately contacted Latrice and warned her. Every time Maxwell called with a new threat, Paul passed the warning along. The final, most chilling call came just 2 weeks before the middle of June. Latrice knew he was out there. She knew he was angry. But she had a new house, she had her kids, and she had a life to live. She couldn't hide in the dark forever. The 18th of June, 2017, Father's Day. It was supposed to be a day of celebration. Latrice was in her bedroom getting ready to go see her own father, James, and her sisters to celebrate the holiday. 4-year-old Jada was right beside her. Down the hallway, 1-4-year-old Justin was in his room. He had his gaming headset on, totally focused on his Xbox. He was completely insulated from the rest of the house. Somehow, Earl Maxwell made it inside the house on Avon Avenue. We don't know if a door was left unlocked or if he forced his way in, but suddenly, the man Latrice had spent months trying to escape was standing right inside her bedroom. This is the moment that makes the blood run cold. Maxwell didn't just charge in blindly. He looked down at little Jada. He greeted her. He said, "Hi," to the 4-year-old girl. And then, he raised a gun. Down the hall, Justin heard a noise through his headset. It sounded muffled, chaotic. He thought his mom was arguing with someone. He had no idea he was listening to gunfire. He had no idea his mother was being shot 10 times, including a shot to the back of the head. The house fell eerily quiet. And then, the sound of tiny, frantic footsteps came echoing down the hallway. Justin's door burst open. It was Jada. The 4-year-old was hysterical, her eyes wide with a terror no child should ever know. She looked at her older brother and screamed, "Mom just got shot! Mom just got shot!" Justin threw his headset off. "What do you mean?" He sprinted out of his room and ran into his mother's bedroom. The scene he walked into is one that will be burned into his memory until the day he dies. His mother, his protector, the woman who spent her life healing others, was bleeding out on the floor. At 14 years old, a boy should be worrying about high school, about football, about his friends. Instead, Justin dropped to his knees and became a first responder. He frantically started administering CPR. He pressed on her chest. He begged her to stay. He felt her skin. He held his mother as she took her final 2 breaths in his arms. Realizing he was losing her, Justin scrambled up, covered in his mother's blood, and ran out the front door into the bright Sunday morning light. A neighbor named Ron Wilson heard the agonizing screams of a teenage boy tearing through the neighborhood. "Help! My mama's been shot! She's gonna die!" Ron sprinted over, took over CPR, and tried everything he could. But the damage was too severe. Latrice Morris Dorsy, a mother of 3, was pronounced gone at the scene. On Father's Day, and Earl Maxwell? He had vanished like a ghost. The Detroit Police Department immediately launched a manhunt. The community was in shock, but the shock quickly turned to a deep, burning rage. News reporters stood outside the Yellow House on Avon Avenue, broadcasting the horrific details.
We understand that children weren't harmed, at least not physically, Kim.
That's correct, Stephen. Physically, they're okay, but as you can imagine, heartbroken and damaged in so many other ways after what happened here. Now, Latrice Dorsy had just moved into this yellow house with her kids a few months ago after breaking up with her ex-boyfriend, a man who would not leave her alone.
A mother murdered in her own home, a 4-year-old forced to witness it, a 14-year-old forced to hold her. Police released Maxwell's description to the public. 5'8", heavy build, yellow teeth, and the dead giveaway, Latrice's name tattooed on his left arm. Latrice's sister, Megan, stood before the news cameras, her voice trembling with a mixture of profound grief and pure anger. She issued a warning to anyone in the city who might be hiding him. If somebody knows where he's at, you are just as guilty as him. The pressure was suffocating. Maxwell knew he couldn't run forever. 2 days after Father's Day, knowing his face was plastered across every television screen in Michigan, Earl Maxwell walked into a Detroit police precinct and turned himself in. But he didn't bring the gun. Investigators quickly learned that before surrendering, he had deliberately disposed of the murder weapon. He wasn't turning himself in out of remorse. He was trying to control the narrative. And his narrative was deeply, wildly insulting. When the legal process began, Maxwell's defense team tried to float a theory that made the public's blood boil. They tried to argue that there was a lack of premeditation. They tried to claim that the shooting was an accident. Let me repeat that. A man breaks into a home, greets a toddler, and unloads a weapon into a woman 10 times, striking her in the back of the head, fleeing the scene, and dumping the gun. And his excuse was that it was accidental. They were hoping to dodge a first-degree murder charge.
We were supposed to be dating. We were still dating until this plumber guy came along. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone.
But the prosecutor wasn't having it, and neither was the judge. The autopsy report was ironclad. Paul Dorsey took the stand and testified about the 20-plus threatening phone calls, proving Maxwell had been planning this for weeks. Realizing his accident excuse was laughable, and that a jury would likely lock him in a box and throw away the key, Earl Maxwell caved. He pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and a felony firearms violation. By pleading guilty, he was facing the very real possibility of life in prison. When sentencing day finally arrived, the courtroom was heavy with tension. Latrice's family was there. Her children, still completely broken by the loss of their mother, sat in the gallery. They had to breathe the same air as the man who destroyed their world. Normally, at a sentencing, a guilty party might offer a tearful apology. They might stay quiet. Earl Maxwell did neither. Standing before the judge, Maxwell began to speak. He started by saying he loved Latrice. He said it multiple times, forcing her grieving children to listen to the word love coming from the mouth of a killer. And then he tried to justify it. He told the court, "We were supposed to be dating. We were still dating until this plumber guy came along. Okay, I'ma leave that alone." He was standing in a courtroom, about to be sent to prison for slaughtering a woman in front of her child, and he was whining about jealousy over a plumber. Latrice's stepdaughter, sitting in the gallery, couldn't take it anymore. The raw emotion bubbled over, and she openly expressed her disgust right there in the room. The judge ordered Maxwell to stop rambling, but he just kept going. "I was wrong, and I'm sorry," Maxwell continued, completely tone-deaf to the agony around him. "But I just want to let y'all know that I have repented with every bone in my body. And I just want to let y'all know that the Lord gave me a dream that she's with the Lord, and that's the only thing that kept me from killing myself." He made it about himself. He used religion as a shield. He tried to claim divine forgiveness to a family that would never, ever forgive him. The judge stared him down and handed down the sentence, 25 to 50 years in the state penitentiary. For many in the public, it wasn't enough. 25 years felt like a slap in the face for a crime so calculated and deeply traumatizing. But the story of Latrice Morris Dorsy does not end with the man who took her life. It doesn't end in a cold prison cell. It ends with the boy who held her. At that same sentencing hearing, 4-year-old Justin stood up. He looked at the man who had ruined his life, and he spoke. "My mom was the nicest person, the most caring person, and for you to take her out of my life like that hurts my heart so much." When a 4-year-old boy experiences that level of trauma, statistics say things usually don't end well. The anger, the PTSD, the sheer weight of the grief can pull a kid under. Justin admitted later that he was drowning. He wanted to give up. He didn't care about school. He didn't care about sports. He had lost his anchor. But then, he remembered who his mother was. He remembered how hard she worked to give them a good life. He realized that giving up meant letting Earl Maxwell take even more from them than he already had. So, Justin went to work. He took all of his rage, all of his grief, and all of his pain, and he channeled it into absolute relentless focus. He hit the gym 6 days a week. He poured his aggression out on the high school football field, becoming a force of nature. In the classroom, he refused to slip. He studied late into the night. 4 years after the worst day of his life, Justin Dorsey graduated from high school. He didn't just graduate, he graduated with a perfect 4 gigapascals. His incredible work ethic on the football field caught the attention of scouts, and he was offered a full-ride athletic scholarship to Ferris State University. When reporters caught up with him at his graduation, asking how he managed to survive and thrive after such an unimaginable nightmare, Justin was incredibly clear. He did it for himself, and he did it for her. He read a piece of his graduation speech aloud. "I knew at the end of the day I had to work hard for what I want, to get the degree she didn't have, to make her proud. We all want to be successful, but first, you have to want it for yourself, and that is what I achieved." And the most beautiful part of Justin's revenge? When he packed his bags for college, he announced his major. He wasn't just going to play football. He was going to school to become a physical therapist. He chose to dedicate his life to the exact same profession his mother had chosen. He is going to spend the rest of his life helping people heal, helping people regain their strength, and helping them move forward, just like she did. And little Jada, the 4-year-old who witnessed the unthinkable? By the time Justin graduated, she was 8 years old. Family members reported that she is doing better. She is safe, living with her father and stepmother, surrounded by a family that fiercely protects her. She is on the right path. The tragedy of Latrice Morris Dorsy is a heavy, painful reminder of the blind spots in our system. She did everything right. She left. She cut contact. There were 20 documented warnings, yet law enforcement wasn't able to intervene until it was too late. It is a terrifying reality that so many victims face. The gap between a threat being made and action being taken is often paid for in blood. But Earl Maxwell failed. He thought he could erase Latrice. He thought his violence would be the final word. He was wrong. Latrice's legacy wasn't buried on that Father's Day. It is walking the campus of a university. It is studying medicine. It is catching footballs. It is growing up safe in a loving home. Maxwell took her life, but he could not touch her light. That light is being carried forward by the children she loved more than anything in the world. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. You are not alone. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, look out for each other, and I'll see you in the next case.